are living legends. Know thyself, and you shall know all of the mysteries of the gods and of the universe.
For more spirit science content, give a thumbs up and like. Don't forget to subscribe to stay in tune, and hit the bell for new spirit science videos. Spirit science of the day.
Ancient Egyptian gods and goddesses. The ancient Egyptians had over 2,000 gods and goddesses. There were supreme gods and subsidiary ones. Our ancestors practiced polytheism. There were gods and goddesses with specific duties, gods associated with specific tasks, gods worshipped in certain areas. Our ancestors associated with natural manifestations such as water and air. Many had totemist and animal elements. The 29 major Egyptian gods and goddesses. Amun. Amun was one of the most powerful gods in ancient Egypt. At the height of Egyptian civilization he was called the King of the Gods. Amun appears as a man with a ram head. A ram man, wearing an ostrich-plumed hat. Amun was important throughout the history of ancient Egypt. When Amun was combined with the sun god Ra, he was even more powerful. A large and important temple was built at Thebes to honor Amun-hat. Anubis. Anubis was the god of embalming and the dead. Since jackals were often seen in cemeteries, our ancestors believed that Anubis watched over the dead. Anubis appears as a man with a jackal head. A jackal man. Anubis was the god who helped to embalm Osiris after he was killed by Seth. Thus, Anubis was the god who watched over the process of mummifying people when they died. Priests often wore a mask of Anubis during mummification ceremonies. Aten. Aten was a form of the sun god Ra. During the reign of Akhenaten, the Aten was made the king of the gods. Aten appears as a sun disk, with rays which end in hands. After the worship of Amun reached its climax, the sanctification of the sun spread, and called it Aten, the god that King Akhenaten announced in his call for a new monotheistic religion. Aten is represented in the shape of the sun, with its clear rays ending with human hands, holding the key to life. Atum. Atum is one of the most important and frequently mentioned deities from earliest times. Atum appears as a man with the double crown. Atum was the god of the earth, and became close associates with the sun god Ra. Atum represented the sunset of the sun, also the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt regions. Our ancestors believed that Atum rose from the waters of chaos, Nun, and created all of the gods. Bastet. The cat was a symbol of Bastet. Bastet was originally a fierce lioness warrior goddess of the sun. Bastet appears as a woman with the head of a cat. Bastet was a protective goddess. Our ancestors made many statues of cats to honor Bastet. Bastet was also a goddess of pregnancy and childbirth. Bastet was one of the daughters of the sun god Ra. A great temple was built in her honor at Bubastis in the delta. Bes was the protector of pregnant women, newborn babies, and the family, also protected against snake and scorpion bites. Bes appears as a dwarf with lion and human features. Dwarf wearing the skin of a lion. Bes later came to be regarded as the defender of everything good, and the enemy of all that is bad. Amulets of Bes were popular at all levels of Egyptian society. Bes was a household protector, becoming responsible throughout ancient Egyptian history. Geb was the god of the earth. Geb was the husband and brother of the sky goddess Nut. Geb appears as a man lying down below the arch of the sky goddess Nut, man with a goose on his head. He was also the father of Osiris, Isis, Nephthys, and Seth. When Seth and Horus fought for the throne of Egypt, Geb made Horus the ruler of the living. Our ancestors believed that earthquakes were Geb's laughter. Hapi was the god of the inundation of the Nile River. He was important to our ancestors because he brought the flood every year. Hapi appears as a man with a pot belly, with swelling breasts, a sign of prosperity, dressed in a belt suitable to a servant. The flood deposited rich silt on the banks of the Nile, allowing the Egyptians to grow crops. He was the most important for his aspects of natural fertility. Hymns were composed in his honor, but he had no temples built in his honor. Hathor means House of Horus. She was a protective goddess. Hathor was the wife of Horus, and the mother of the pharaoh. Hathor appears as a woman with the ears of a cow woman with a headdress of horns, and sun disk. Hathor was connected with foreign places, and materials. For instance, Hathor was the goddess of the desert, and the turquoise mines in the Sinai. A large temple was built to honor Hathor at Dendera. Horus means the one far above. Horus was a god of the sky. He is the most well known as the protector of the ruler of Egypt. Horus appears as a man with the head of a hawk. After Osiris was murdered by his brother Seth, Horus fought with Seth for the throne of Egypt. In this battle, Horus lost one of his eyes. The eye was restored to him, and it became a symbol of protection. One of the best preserved temples in Egypt today was dedicated to Horus. It is located in Upper Egypt, at a town called Edfu. Isis was a protective goddess. She used powerful magic spells to help people in need. Isis was the wife of Osiris, and the mother of Horus. Isis appears as a woman with headdress in the shape of a throne. A pair of cow horns with a sun disk. Isis is often shown holding Horus on her lap. Isis is associated with thrones, because her lap was the first throne that Horus sat upon. Her amulet called the Isis knot is a symbol of protection. A temple was built to honor Isis at Philae. It is still standing today. Khepri. Khepri means he who is coming into being. Khepri was a god of creation, the movement of the sun, and rebirth. Khepri appears as a man with the head of a scarab beetle. The scarab beetle lays its eggs in a ball of dung. When the young beetles are ready, they crawl out of the ball. Khepri is connected with the god Atum. He is also connected with the sun god Ra, who pushed the sun through the sky every day. Khnum. Khnum was a creator god, and a god of the inundation. Since the annual flooding of the Nile brought with it silt and clay, and its water brought life to its surroundings, Khnum appears as a man with the head of a curly-horned ram. Khnum was a creator god, molding people on a potter's wheel. Since potters used Nile mud, Khnum was also connected with the inundation. Khnum was regarded as the guardian of the source of the Nile River. Mat. Mat was the goddess of truth, justice, and harmony. She was associated with the balance of things on earth. Mat was the daughter of the sun god Ra. Mat appears as a woman with a feather on her head, a feather. Pharaohs are frequently shown in wall reliefs making an offering of Mat to the gods, showing that they are preserving harmony and justice on earth. The vizier who was in charge of the law courts was known as the priest of Mat. Nephthys. Nephthys means lady of the mansion. Nephthys was a protective goddess of the dead. She is often shown on coffins or in funerary scenes. Nephthys appears as a woman with headdress showing her name in hieroglyphs. Nephthys was the sister of Isis and Osiris, and the sister wife of Seth. Nephthys was also the mother of Anubis. Nephthys represented a temple pylon, or trapezoidal tower gateway entrance to the temple. Non. According to an ancient Egyptian creation myth, Non was the waters of chaos. Non was the only thing that existed on earth before there was land. Non appeared as a man carrying a bark. Non, also spelled new, oldest of the ancient Egyptian gods, and father of Ra, the sun god. Non's name means primeval waters. Non was also associated with the chaos that existed at the edges of the universe. Nut. Nut was the sky goddess, whose body created a vault, or canopy over the earth. Nut was the sister wife of Geb, the god of the earth. Woman whose body arches across the sky, wearing a dress decorated with stars. Nut is a daughter of Shu and Tefnut. She was also the mother of Isis, Osiris, Nephthys, and Seth. She was originally the goddess of the nighttime sky. At the end of the day, Nut swallowed the sun god, Ra, and gave birth to him again the next morning. Osiris. Osiris was the god of the dead, and the ruler of the underworld. Osiris was the husband of Isis, and the brother of Nephthys, and Seth. He was also the father of Horus. Osiris appears as a mummified man wearing a white cone-like headdress with feathers. As well as being a god of the dead, Osiris was a god of resurrection and fertility. Osiris gave the gift of barley, one of their most important crops. A large temple was built to honor Osiris at Abydos. Ra was the sun god. He was the most important god of the ancient Egyptians. Humans were created from Ra's tears and sweat. Ra appears as a man with hawk head and headdress with a sun disk. Ra was swallowed every night by the sky goddess Nut, and was reborn every morning. Ra traveled through the underworld at night. In the underworld, Ra appeared as a man with the head of a ram. Wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly means Horus in the horizon. Wholeheartedly was a combination of the gods Horus and Ra. Wholeheartedly appears as a man with the head of a hawk, with a sun disk headdress. Horus was a god of the sky, and Ra was the god of the sun. Thus, Wholeheartedly was thought of as the god of the rising sun. Ra is a symbolic deity of hope and rebirth. Sekhmet means the powerful one, the daughter of the sun god Ra. Sekhmet was the goddess of war. Sekhmet appears as a woman with the head of a lioness. Sekhmet was said to breathe fire, and the hot winds of the desert were likened to her breath. She was also caused plagues, which were called her servants, or messengers, although she was also called upon to ward off disease. Sekhmet was the wife of the god Papa, and mother of his son Nefertum. Seshet was the goddess of wisdom, knowledge, writing, and measurement. Responsible for recording the speeches the pharaoh made. Seshet appears as a woman wearing a panther skin dress and a star headdress. She also became identified as the goddess of accounting, architecture, astronomy, astrology, building, mathematics, and surveying. At times she was identified the daughter, and at other times the companion of Thoth. Set was the god of chaos. Set represented everything that threatened harmony in Egypt. Set appears as a man with the head of a Seth animal, unidentifiable. He was the brother of Osiris and Isis, as well as the husband of Nephthys. He murdered his brother Osiris, then battled with his nephew Horus to be the ruler of the living. At certain times in the history of ancient Egypt, Set was associated with royalty. Shu means he who rises up. Shu was the god of the air. Shu held up the figure of Nut so that the earth and the sky were separated. Shu appears as a man wearing a headdress with feathers, a lion. The son of the sun god Ra, he was also the brother of Tefnut, Hathor, Sekhmet, and Bastet. Shu was the father of Nut, and Geb, and grandfather of Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys. As the heir, Shu was considered to be a cooling, and thus calming, influence, and pacifier. Sobek was a Nile god. Sobek was connected with the Nile, and protected the king. He had pharaonic power, fertility, and a military prowess. Sobek appears as a man with the head of a crocodile, and a head-dress of feathers, and a sun disk. Sobek first acquired a role as the solar god through his connection to Horus. Sobek enjoyed a long-standing presence in the ancient Egyptian pantheon. From the Old Kingdom of Egypt to the Middle Kingdom of Egypt, live crocodiles were kept in pools at temples, built to honor Sobek. Taurit means the Great One. Taurit was a goddess who protected women during pregnancy and childbirth. People often wore amulets, or kept them in their homes. Taurit appears as a head of a hippopotamus with the arms and legs of a lion, the back and tail of a crocodile, and the breasts and stomach of a pregnant woman. Tauret appears as a well-known constellation to demonstrate the celestial and otherworldly properties of Lake Moeris. She also serves as a fine protective divine mother. Many of the gods and goddesses in ancient Egypt had temples built to honor them. Tefnut. Tefnut was the goddess of moisture. She was the wife of Shu, and the mother of Nut the sky, and Geb the earth. Tefnut appears as a woman with the head of a lioness. Tefnut is the daughter of the solar god Ra-Atum, and married to her twin brother Shu. Tefnut was connected with other leonine goddesses, as the Eye of Ra. She could display a wrathful aspect and is said to have escaped to Nubia in a rage. Thoth. Thoth was the god of writing, wisdom, and knowledge. Our ancestors believed that Thoth gave them the gift of hieroglyphic writing. Thoth appeared as a man with the head of an ibis, holding a writing palette. An ibis. A baboon. Thoth became credited by our ancestors as the inventor of writing hieroglyphs, and was the scribe of the underworld. For this reason, Thoth was universally worshipped by ancient Egyptian scribes. Thoth was connected to the moon, and was the original moon god.